Alright, I need a vid like this where I can just talk about something for a long time, or a good chunk of time at least, and today's topic is the Bullseye tune down. And this is kind of mixed because, like, what changed with Bullseye is honestly just so minuscule to the point where, like, I don't really think it was even necessary, right? And it's caused frustration, obviously, because the things that were changed, they just don't really matter. So let's go over it a bit. And what is changing? Well, dexing Bullseye's basic attacks no longer triggers his instant bleed, and, you know, we'll cover that in just a little bit on, like, why this is just kind of irrelevant. But additionally, Bullseye's SP1 is now going to be correctly coded as projectile hits. So, like, Archangel and Warlock, no longer super crazy good counters to Bullseye. So what's the issue here? Well, in a regular Bullseye matchup, you pretty much never dex his basic hits, and this is due to his AI just being so prone to throwing the SP1. Like, you can just be standing there, and that man is dropping the SP1, like, guaranteed. He loves to drop it, so there's almost no dexing involved to bait out a special attack. Additionally, the bleeds on the basic hits can already be stopped by just parrying them, so it's like, once these new changes are live, is anything really going to change when you fight Bullseye, since he's still going to throw that SP1 pretty much instantly, so there still is pretty much no dexing involved. So it's like, what really was the point of this change to Bullseye? I don't really think it affects anyone except for Stark Spidey, who can now maybe take Bullseye, but then again, a rank 3 Bullseye is just gonna have so much health, and Stark Spidey can't really, like, burst him down without blocking an SP1. And speaking of that, here's the actual problem with Bullseye. The SP1 most of the health loss, if not all the health loss. Yeah, that SP1 will obliterate pretty much any single non-bleed immune champion that isn't named Sunspot. So yeah, most non-bleed immune characters, they just cannot take Bullseye with, like, a passable score in Battlegrounds. If you are going against the Bullseye with a non-bleed immune champion, and the opponent has, like, any decent matchup in Battlegrounds, you're not winning that matchup, since he's just gonna obliterate your block, and the bleed damage is just gonna be too much to deal with for, like, any character that, you know, just isn't bleed immune. So let's go over some fights with Bullseye, or, like, against Bullseye, and let's showcase what exactly does make Bullseye annoying and just a total pain to deal with, and why this change is just so small for him. So yeah, now we have a rank 3 Bullseye here. This is Barrowman's rank 3 Bullseye, and you're gonna see that you know, the basic attack change that they're doing, it's gonna have next to no effect on this fight. So here I drop the SP1, and then instantly he drops the SP1 himself. No dexing needed for that. He just drops it automatically. He always does that. That is what Bullseye is known for. So there's issue number 1. The need to dex Bullseye just doesn't exist. Right there, I could dex it there. Like, I do admit I could use that to, you know, get him to throw the SP1. He threw it 2 seconds anyway, like 2 seconds after that anyway, so it's like, does it really matter? Not really, man. So yeah, here I go for a heavy attack, and this one is about to be over. Well, usually, but with this meta, it is a bit hard to, like, finish him off. However, it does some pretty good damage still, and yeah, I go for the relic here, go for a combo, and that is that. So, not too shabby, and, you know, Bullseye is annoying, so he, like, destroyed Barrowman right there. It's like, this champion is so goofy. But here's what it looks like when you don't have the perfect block, and you have to actually, like, block the hits of the SP1 just, like, straight up. And this is where things just go south for pretty much any champion, because the SP1 block damage is just insane. And also, please note that Angela has a regen as well, so she could be losing a lot more health, but thankfully, since she has that regen, she isn't even losing that much in comparison to others. And additionally, I want you to notice how much we, dex his basic attacks, right? Throughout this entire fight, it's 91 seconds. I want you to count how many times I dex his basic hits. Let's just do that real quick, okay? So here I dropped the SP1, and this fight is going decently for an Angela fight. Like, Bullseye, he's just so annoying without like any bleed immune or any just mutant burst damage character. So yeah, here I dropped the heavy attack. Very good damage, by the way. Angela is a beast and she is really good at this meta. It's just this Bullseye fight is not ideal for her in the slightest. Yeah, that's a 27,000 crit, by the way, so she's a good champion, like a really, really good champion. Here I dropped the SP1. And right here, I do have to parry a bit when I could dex with a change, which I admit is going to be pretty helpful. But yeah, like, example, dexing 4 times, I could make him throw the special attack a bit earlier. But then again, that's just one small thing. As you can see, I have lost a third of my health to the SP1, which isn't getting adjusted, by the way. And yeah, there we go. So here's what like I would have done, and this might be a stretch, but we'll see. If the first hit of Bullseye's SP1 was parried, the instant bleed damage for that hit and the remainder of the special attack is reduced by 75%. So you don't just lose all your health to that really annoying SP1. So this enables most champions that aren't bleed immune to actually take him, and it's not just a guaranteed loss like usually is in Battlegrounds. This, I think, is a fair change overall, and well, it's not going to happen obviously because they need a cell defender, so it does make sense that he is just overpowered in one regard. It would have been nice, right? And I feel like the dexing change, while I could have used that change in some of those like matchups, like the Angela one especially, it still is pretty minuscule, and I feel like it just won't have too much of an effect, especially on the characters that already counter him pretty well. So yeah, it's just like, I don't really know, man, but let's talk about Bullseye on attack. So I feel like his attack value, it's hard to change his attack value without increasing his defensive value as well. So they really just couldn't do much in this scenario. But I think with recoil masteries, he's just a good champion already, and his utility makes up for his okay/subpar damage output without the recoil masteries. So yeah, I think he is fine on attack by himself, but this whole situation is kind of just, it's not the most fun thing to talk about, right? Because, you want the best for these characters, you want the best for the game, and it's like, you don't really know if Bullseye is healthy for the game or not. I know that defenders are supposed to exist in this game, but it's like, when defenders are just this much of an auto win, where do you draw the line? Like, I know that Bullseye has his counters, and that's great. They are, they're really good at countering him, but I just don't like when characters just like cannot even have a chance whenever they have to go against like Bullseye, and they aren't just like a perfect counter to him. But I'll be honest, in comparison to the Serpent, Bullseye is like, he's like Captain America when it comes to like terms of difficulty, because the Serpent is the actual problem, and I want to see how that one plays out, because my gosh, there is so much to address with the Serpent, but that is a different can of worms for a different time. Right now it's Bullseye's time, and I feel like while he could have been adjusted to not be super annoying for like any character that doesn't hard counter him, I want to see how it plays out, right? So we'll see how Bullseye is doing in like future metas and everything. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on the Bullseye changes. I think that overall it's not going to be that much of a difference. So it's like basically saying that he doesn't get changed. And yeah, that's about it for me.